Welcome to The Link. This is a program all about linking you with the resources in your community. I'm Joanie Sutter. Making informed choices for Medicare can be confusing, and it's something that we need to be informed about when we're 55 or older. We've invited a specialist on The Link today to give you the information and break it down so you can better navigate Medicare choices. Shirley Moore is a senior market specialist. Shirley, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And you've been in the insurance business for a very long time.
Yes, 41 years.
And you were the first female at the Prudential selling insurance.
Yes.
And that was a big deal.
It was.
Because back then, women weren't selling insurance.
No.
They were administrative roles, and how did that work out for you?
It actually worked out well because it motivated me to be better at what I did. And I promised them that in 1 year they'd have to come to me for answers, and I kept that promise. So,
You did, and,
yeah.
and we're still getting answers from Shirley now. So let's start, because this program really isn't about, you know, what Medicare will cover. Maybe we'll touch a little bit on that. But this is really for the individual who has Medicare currently and is looking to perhaps make a change to what they have. The person who is 55 and wanting to look ahead at what they should kind of be thinking about, the person who's 65 who's eligible for Medicare. And so I'd like to start with a question, and that question is, because you talk to people from all over the state, Shirley goes all over the state of Connecticut to talk to people about Medicare. What is the most confusion that people experience around Medicare?
Well, they don't really understand the differences between A and B. They don't understand how an HMO works or a Medicare supplement. They get them all confused. So it's my goal when I meet somebody to go through all those things and make them understand how it works, and then they feel better.
Well, sure, because they are coming from a place of power and knowledge.
Right.
Now, the amount of people that you speak to and people that you see in your everyday life, how many of them really have a grasp, would you say, percentage-wise, on what they've got for coverage, who to go to ask questions or get answers instead of having to call 1-800-Medicare? I don't even know if there's a number that's 1-800-Medicare, but to have to call the government.
Right.
50%, 80% are
I'd say more like 80 or 85%, they don't know.
are not comfortable.
And they're not, no.
Okay, so people
Even the
like,
ones that buy a policy, they're never sure what they have.
they just know they have something.
Yes.
And so people like you to educate are so important, and so I'm so glad you're here. So let's start our education on Medicare. What is the first thing that you tell someone when you sit down with them?
The first thing I say to them is, look, I'm going to give you a lesson in Medicare. It's going to be Basic 101. And by the time we go through it, you're going to feel comfortable. And then I go through, what is Part A? What does it cover? And what is Part B? And I always tell them, Part A, the simplest way to remember it, is that it covers some kind of room and board in some kind of a facility. Part B covers everything else, all your doctors, your x-rays, your blood work, your skilled nursing that goes under that. If without Part B, you don't really have any coverage.
So Part A is room and board. Would that be at a convalescing facility?
It could be.
It could be for rehabilitation?
Yes. Because now, you know, hospitals don't keep you anymore, Joanie.
No, I found that out.
Yeah,
recently.
I mean, you're there and they can't wait to get rid of you. So.
Right, they stabilize you and then they ship you out.
But if we have people who might have a hip replacement or a knee replacement, they'll go to nursing homes for rehab. They're usually there 2 to 3 weeks and then they're back home.
Okay, and so Part A is an automatic for people, is that right?
Yes.
At what age?
At 65.
And why is it an automatic?
Because it was paid for under their payroll taxes all the years that they worked. And Part B was not paid for. So Part B, there's a charge every month out of your Social Security check. It's $134 this year. It also goes by income. If you're above a certain level, you're going to pay more. But you don't have a choice. It has to come out of your Social Security.
So when you're 65 years old is when you can first apply for
Yes.
receiving Social Security.
Right.
And so when you receive that Social Security, this $134 is automatically taken right out of that. You don't even see that.
You never see it.
Okay. And for people who didn't work, what happens to them with Part A?
Well, if they didn't work, that's a whole different ballgame. I mean, they're usually not eligible. They have to have so many quarters in.
Okay, and could they be covered under a spouse? Let's say a woman
Yes.
stayed home and raised her family and was not in the professional working world. Women who stayed home with children worked very hard, but were not in the professional getting a paycheck. Their husband was. So could they be on that benefit?
Yes, what'll happen is they'll get half of what their husband's benefit is.
Okay, once the husband, or if with the husband being alive.
Yes.
If the husband is deceased.
They still get half of what the benefit is.
Okay, so everybody's covered under Part A, but that doesn't include blood tests,
No.
doctors, physical therapy, if you're outpatient, you know, going. And those are very expensive costs that can really
Yes.
put somebody behind the 8 ball. Okay, so what are our choices?
Well, your choices are you're going to go on Part A and Part B. When you're ready to retire, I mean, if you're going to stay working, you don't need Part B because you're covered under an employer. But once you leave, then you're, I'm sorry, allergy season.
I know, no worries.
Yeah, you're covered, once you get the Part B coverage, you call Social Security and say, turn on Part B as of whatever date you're going to use it for. It's always the first day of the month. So if you were going to turn on Part B for December, it would be December 1st.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Now, every year, let's start out this way before we go into some of the more definitive explanations that we have. Every year between October 15th and December 7th
Yes.
is open enrollment. So what that means is if you are currently on Medicare, you could make a change to what you currently have during that period without any penalties.
That's correct.
Can you make a change at other times with a penalty or not at all?
No, you can't change.
So you can't
You're
change.
locked in for a year.
Okay, so October 15th to December 7th is really key if you want to sign up
Right.
or if you want to change. If you don't sign up, you're out of luck
Yeah.
until the following year.
Well, no, people can sign up at different times of the year because their birthdays, they turn 65 at different times of the year.
Okay.
So they can sign up anytime, 3 months before the birthday and 3 months after.
Okay.
That's the rule. So, that's ongoing.
Okay. Does Medicare mail you something that says, welcome to Medicare 101? Or is it confusing and...
I kid you not, I go into houses and there's stacks of mail this high off the table with all the companies that are sending them stuff, which confuses them even more because they're looking at all that and they're going, oh my God, what do I do?
Right. You mean independent third-party companies?
And Medicare doesn't usually send you a welcome letter, but Social Security will send you a letter telling you how much is coming out of your Social Security check for Part B. And you get a letter every year because sometimes things change. Your Social Security might up a little bit. They have these increases, very small. I always call them Dunkin' Donuts increases.
So that's about as far as you can go.
Right.
Can't even afford a donut there these days.
I know, everything.
Smaller and the price is getting higher.
Yeah.
But so that's pretty much what they give you.
Yes.
And then you're left to your own device. Talk
Right.
to your neighbors to find out what
Yeah.
they have.
Well,
and-
they also, a lot of the companies will put on a schedule, it'll be in the paper, of seminars that for each, their own company. So they're going to all these seminars, getting totally confused, coming back home, looking at all this mail. In fact, a lot of times I end up sifting through the mail and helping them decide what they keep and what they
Yeah.
throw out,
Right. So they just pile it up and
Yeah.
they don't make a choice.
They don't, because they're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do.
So let's make it simple for them. You have Part A, so that's covered. Let's talk about Part B and what some of the options are.
Well, Part B, you take it and it covers, like I said, everything other than room and board in a hospital. I mean, it covers your blood work, your x-rays, your MRIs, your doctors, all that comes under Part B.
Okay.
So it's critical to have Part B.
What's the cost?
Well, Part B under Social Security for this year is $134.
Okay.
That you have no choice.
Okay.
Okay. Part B, that's what you're going to pay, period. But then you have options. You have two options under Medicare. You have option A, the first option, which is a Medicare supplement. That has a premium attached to it, okay? And you can go to any doctor, any hospital in the United States, and you don't need anybody's permission. And you pay, for depending on the plan, some plans pay everything. Other plans might charge you $183 annual deductible and $20 copays to the doctors. But then they pick up all the rest.
Okay.
So that would, that's that option. The only thing is with that plan, you have to buy a separate drug plan because it's not incorporated into the plan.
Okay, is the drug plan Medicare Part D?
Yes.
Okay, so if I have Part A, do I also have Part D, or I have to buy Part D?
No, you have to buy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if I get the supplement, in addition to my Part B, because I want doctors paid for and blood work and things like
Right.
that, so I buy Part D for B for $134. Well, it's coming out anyway, if I'm not working. And then I can choose a supplemental, which includes Part D.
Doesn't include it, it's separate.
It's separate. What's the cost for Part D and the supplemental?
It depends what company, and what I do is I go on the Medicare.gov site and I put all their drugs in. And it comes up with a list of companies that will cover those drugs.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, and I also give them a comparison of 3 companies because there's premium attached to the Part D. Sometimes it's only $32.50 a month. It could be $14.60. It depends on whether your drugs are all covered or not.
Okay, so you give them kind of a menu.
Yes.
And then they can say, all right, that one works, but the premium's too high. That one works a little bit less maybe, but the premium's more affordable for me. And then people can choose that.
Yes.
And is that supplemental insurance through Medicare or through a third party?
It's through AARP, and it's underwritten by United Healthcare, and also Anthem Blue Cross underwrites one too.
How nice. Okay.
There are other companies that write them, but I don't really put people in them because when you buy a Medicare supplement, no matter what company sells it, they have to sell identical benefits. So what you're looking for is the best price. And I found that the AARP and the Anthem are the best prices.
And those are 2 very good companies.
They
very
are.
Strong companies. They're not going to be going out of business,
No.
or you're not going to find doctors who don't want to participate
Right.
and say, gee, Now, when you said that you don't need anybody's permission, so you could go visit your grandchildren in another state and visit a doctor there, and you don't need to get your primary care physician to authorize you to go. You
No.
can just go.
No, there's no, you don't have to even elect a primary physician with this product.
Okay. Now, if people travel, and I know that's maybe not as many folks who are traveling overseas or out of the country, does Medicare cover any costs out of the country?
They all cover the same amount. You pay a $250 deductible, and then Medicare will pay 80% up to $50,000, and you pay 20%.
Okay.
With a maximum of $50,000.
Okay.
So I always suggest that they buy temporary health insurance when they're going overseas.
That's a good idea.
And then they're covered. And as an example, I'll give you an example. A client went over to Mexico, and she ended up in the hospital. Well, they wouldn't release her until she came up with $43,000.
So there's a case they didn't kick her out.
No.
They kept her.
They kept her. They wouldn't let her go until she had a call, and they had to find ways of getting the money. It was awful.
That is awful. I don't know if that's even legal.
Well, they can pretty much do what they want in other countries.
That's true.
Yeah. But I always tell people there's
It's a
temporary
nightmare.
health insurance. In fact, AAA sells it.
Okay.
And I have a couple that go to Norway and Sweden every year for 4 months, and they buy it, and then when they come back, it's over. And that's why it's not expensive, because it's temporary.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
Yep. So what are some of the other options if you don't want to go with a supplemental plan? Is that it?
No, there's two options together.
Okay.
You have the supplemental, and then you have the Advantage Part C, which is a Medicare Advantage plan. It's an HMO, and it has a network of doctors. So your best bet is to stay in the network of doctors, otherwise you're going to pay a very high bill.
Okay, so Shirley brought a little chart for us to look at. If we look at that chart now, we can see that step 1 shows Medicare Part A, which is, room and board.
Yeah.
I love that, because that really sticks in your mind. And then B, you go to step 2 and you say, okay, do I want the supplement where I can go to any doctor? I don't have to be asking any questions. I can pick who I want. I have to end up with the prescription D drug benefit, which is important anyway.
Yep.
Or do I go with the HMO where I have a list of doctors that I have to visit and
Right.
see those doctors?
And the Part D is included in the HMO.
Okay.
It's not separate like the Medicare supplement.
Which one is more expensive?
It depends on the plan that they buy. A couple of companies offer plans that are as much as over $200 a month, but I very rarely ever sell those.
What are some of the complaints that you hear, Shirley, when people want to make a change? And they say, here I am, it's open enrollment time, I do not want what I have now, I want to make a change. Why do they want to?
Usually it's because maybe their doctor decided not to stay in that plan. Because obviously it's very hard to change doctors. You develop a relationship, and it makes it very difficult. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is they may come out, there may be a plan that comes out with better coverage. Because every year they change them a little bit. So, that's one of the things. And then they may have had a bad experience with customer service. That can happen too. Because they have people all over the country doing customer service. So those are usually the top items that cause that.
So the companies that you're suggesting to people are companies that are tried and true, and most times are going to give people the value that they're paying for.
Yes.
Let's talk about life insurance a little bit. We'll get off of Medicare just for a very short time, because I know Medicare is the real reason we're doing this show, but life insurance is very important. And what was one thing that you told me, the soundbite that you gave me about life insurance and the few bills that may be left over and not having them be the responsibility of the family?
Are you talking about the example I gave you of the $5,000? Is that what you're talking about?
I was talking about how when someone passes away, there are a few bills that are left over.
Yes.
And you don't want that to necessarily be the burden of the family. And a whole life insurance will pay for, final preparation and things like that. And so life insurance is important but affordable to seniors.
Well, we now have a lot of plans that are called guaranteed issue plans. They're whole life. A lot of they're graded. So when I say they're graded, I mean they have to outlive the plan by 2 years. If they don't, their beneficiary gets the premium back with interest. If they do outlive it, then obviously your beneficiary is going to get the whole face amount when you die. And one thing that people don't realize, there's no tax on that benefit. That's the only thing I think that in this country that the IRS can't take.
And I didn't know that when we were prepping for this show. Shirley said to me that when that benefit is paid, there is no tax paid on that.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
That's something that's a good thing. So you're going around the state of Connecticut. You're talking to people about Medicare. And you're talking to large groups, small groups, senior centers, individuals?
All of it.
Okay.
In fact, right now I'm working with a company down in Stamford. They want me to work with their employees that are retiring. I have another one in Bristol. So, in fact, I have an appointment with them next week.
So you're going all over, and
Yeah.
Shirley's contact information is on the screen for more information about what Shirley's doing and ways that she could be of help. I think that you have a very warm approach and easy to understand when it comes to insurance, because this is something that people are nervous talking about. They have to share their medical information to a certain degree, so
Right.
you know how best to help them. And so you need to have somebody that you're comfortable talking with and that really understands. Sometimes sales people for certain companies can be overbearing.
Yes.
And I think people get afraid of that because they don't know what they're signing up for.
Well, a lot of the seniors have been victims of scams, you know, and I think the reason that they like working with me is because I am in their age group, and I understand all the problems because I experience them day to day on my own. So I think that makes them feel comfortable, you know.
And you're talking to the companies, so you know which ones are not that great to deal with from a customer service perspective, and those that are. Shirley, what's the passion in this for you still? Because Shirley, those of you who don't know Shirley, Shirley's a wonderful artist, a really wonderful artist. I've seen some of her artwork, and I understand you also are a good baker. So you could be doing a whole variety of things with your time, but yet you're still very passionate about being there for people and helping them make these choices. Why?
I just, years ago, I got trained by hospice, and I used to volunteer for hospice, and I realized that, you know, people need to be, you know, validated. They need to be validated, and I am just so passionate about helping people. I feel so good when I walk out and say, I'm leaving them in a better place than when I found them. And that's what keeps me going. And the painting and the cakes are just my therapy.
She shuts the door finally and says, that's it. I'm going to sit here and paint. And I know that there are people who don't make the best choices about their insurance too, and you've been on that side of it.
Yes.
And you've had to experience going and saying, well, here's the benefit, and well, where's the rest of it? That's all there is. And so we don't want to be overselling insurance, but it's important that people are have what they need. Are people going to the doctor as much as they should be because they don't have the right insurance?
Yeah. There are people who go because they just don't have the correct insurance for their situation. I always say the reason we have so many flavors of insurance is because not one flavor fits all.
That's right.
And you've got to get to know people and understand them. You don't go in and just throw a policy at them and say, sign, you know, you don't do that.
You don't do that, and you have to help navigate because situations change. Sometimes someone's healthy and thinks, oh, you know, and then all of a sudden the tide turns. Now, there's no pre-existing conditions.
Connecticut is the best thing about Connecticut is we don't have any pre-existing clause on people that are 65 and older. Other states have a 6-month wait for anybody that has a condition. Now, a lot can happen in 6 months.
Absolutely.
Now, Rhode Island and Florida have that. Some of the other states have it.
A lot of seniors in Florida.
Yeah, and people don't realize when you move to Florida, your insurance changes because they charge a higher premium. That's a high geriatric population. So the premiums for the Medicare supplements are higher in Florida than they are here.
It really all balances out.
It does, yeah.
You know, when you look at everything. Shirley, we have about 30 seconds left. I want to thank you for coming on the program, and I encourage you to find out all you can, and if you're confused about paperwork that you have or mail that you get from Medicare and you're not certain what to do, please do ask someone, because you need to have the right coverage that is right for your pocketbook and will always also be the best for you. Shirley, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. This
You're
has been
welcome.
great.
Good. On behalf of Nutmeg TV, have a good day.